This is a workshop presentation. I'm going to talk about the BMLT a little bit because Yap is built on top of the BMLT. It's what makes Yap possible. But I'm going to move through that part pretty quickly, and I'm going to get right into Yap, the phone line system. And introductions here. I'm Jonathan. I'm an addict. I currently live in North Carolina. Some of you guys know me. I've moved around a lot in the past couple of years. I've lived in 4 states in 2 years. We just moved just south of Raleigh here in North Carolina, and I think we're going to stay here for a while. So I'm glad to be geographically in the SEZF again. I'm also the coordinator for the SEZF BMLT task force. Kelly, you want to introduce yourself?
Kelly S., Huntsville, Alabama, Roll Tide.
So real quick, what is the BMLT? Well, the acronym stands for the Basic Meeting List Toolbox. And at a high level, it's just it's software for managing meeting lists. Worldwide, it's used by over 1,100 service bodies, so it's become somewhat of a standard. The software itself is written by addicts for addicts. So every line of code that's been committed to all of the BMLT software is written by Narcotics Anonymous members. So in that way, we like to say that it's seventh tradition clean. It's totally self-supporting by Narcotics Anonymous members. And it used to just be software for managing a meeting list where area trusted servants would log in and make their meeting updates. And it's evolved into a whole ecosystem, an entire toolbox of software around generally, it's enabling people to find meetings using software by having a single source of truth. The idea is you update your meeting in one place and it propagates everywhere. The websites get changed instantly. The next time you print a list, it gets changed instantly. And as we'll see in Yap, your phone line gets updated with the latest information instantly. Here's a map. This is a little outdated, but this is a map from several months ago showing what parts Narcotics Anonymous and which parts of the world are using the BMLT. Each one of these little bubbles is a meeting. And I think what's changed since this map was generated is the Pacific Northwest now has coverage. So I know Seattle, Washington is on there, and other parts of Northern California and Washington have jumped on. So that's a big deal. Most of the United States has coverage now. And I know one of the things the zone does is we provide a BMLT server as a service to all of the member regions. So if you're a member of an area in the Southeastern Zonal Forum, you're probably already using this software, as you can see on this map. Why was the BMLT created? Well, and there's a lot of words on this slide, but very simply, I can talk about my own experience. I got clean in the Marietta area in Georgia, and when I got clean, every time a meeting changed, or our meeting closed, or a new meeting started, we had to update the area website, the regional website. We had to update this Word document for like our printed meeting list. We had to tell our answering service that our phone line that a meeting had opened, closed, or changed. And we had to get on the phone with NAS or fill out a form with NAS to let them know. And the result of that is all of those lists were out of sync all the time. And we ended up sending people to meetings that don't exist, or potential members couldn't get the most up-to-date meeting information. BMLT was created to solve that problem. An area can update their meeting in one place, and it instantly propagates to all of those places. That was the original idea. It was developed by a guy named Chris M. Out of Long Island, New York, over 10 years ago, and since then, there's a lot of us who have started working on it. And this restates a lot of what I just said, single source of truth for meetings. And there's a fairly common misconception that if I'm going to use the BMLT, that I need to have tech skills. And that's really not true. I mean, if you want to be a software engineer and commit code to the BMLT, then yeah, you probably need some pretty significant tech skills, right? But if you just want to use it, all you do is log into this server that the zone provides, and you update your area meeting information. That's pretty much it. That's the whole thing. If you can write an email, you can use the BMLT. So that was a little bit about the BMLT. Let's talk about YAP. And I talked a little bit about my experience in the Marietta area where I got clean and we had an answering service. And every time a meeting changed, we would have to tell this answering service, we have to give them a new meeting list basically. And the answering service was really expensive. So, and we also, there were a bunch of other phone lines around the Georgia region that would use various technologies like Grasshopper and a few other things. And they ended up being fairly costly and they would kind of do what we needed them to do. But we were really taking like an enterprise business solution and trying to adapt it to NA. So YAP runs a phone line and it integrates with the BMLT. And its original and most basic functionality was just you call in, it asks you where you are, you tell it where you are, and then it sends you meeting information. These are the 5 meetings closest to you today. And it also texts them to you. That I'm going to do a demo of that here in a moment. Later, functionality was added to totally replace existing solutions like Grasshopper would be a popular example, or Freedom Voice would be another example. So the idea is you can you get a login, say your area can log in, you can configure your phone line volunteers. Someone calls your area number, it automatically routes the call to cell phones of your phone line volunteers, and they have a schedule and everything. So the phone-based meeting search, I am gonna try to do a demo of that real quick. And let's see how well this comes up over the phone. I've got a sample phone line set up for this demo, for this presentation. So I'm gonna call it on my phone.
Welcome Carolina Region of Narcotics Anonymous. Press 1 to find someone to talk to. Press 2 to search for meetings.
Gonna press 2.
Press 3 to listen to the just. Press 1 to search for meetings by city or county. Press 2 to search for meetings by. Please say the name of the city or county.
Randolph.
Searching meeting information for Randolph County, NC, USA. Meeting information found, listing the top 5 results. Number 1.
So here, it was going to start reading the meeting results to me over the phone, but at the same time, it was also sending me the meeting results over text message. And each of those meeting results, it has either a Zoom link, if it's a Zoom meeting, or it has a clickable address. It also has the meeting name and the meeting time. So I can click on the address and get directions, or I can click on the Zoom link and hop right into the meeting. So what we found is that lowered our call volume and it completely replaced an answering service. If we have this automated system to give meeting results, we no longer need to pay an answering service just to tell people where meetings are, right? But you can also use it to run your entire NA helpline. And this is interesting the way this works. First, it still asks you where you are. So I would say, okay, I'm in Randolph County in North Carolina, or Asheboro, the name of the city in North Carolina. And then it uses the BMLT to figure out what service body serves that geographic location. So what it does is it says, okay, let me find a meeting in Asheboro or Randolph County. Let me see what area it belongs to. Okay, I'm going to route it to the volunteers in that area. So you could also do it, say, for Raleigh, North Carolina, for Greensboro, North Carolina, and it would automatically route the call to the volunteers in the correct area. I have a demo here set up, and I'm gonna do this, and then I'll also hop into the user interface to show you how volunteers are configured.
Welcome Carolina Region of Narcotics Anonymous. Press 1 to find someone to talk to. Press 1 to search for someone to talk to by city or county. Press 2. Please say the name of the city or county.
Randolph.
Please wait while we connect your call.
So it's connecting the call now, and it's doing a call blast to all the volunteers that are on schedule. You can see on my other phone here, I've got an incoming call. And I've also got a text message that says I have an incoming helpline call.
Hello, you've reached NA Helpline. Can I help you? Patrick speaking.
Yeah, so this is Patrick, the AD from the Carolina region, just answered the phone. I had him on the schedule. How's it going, Patrick? Are you driving?
I just drove over the GW Bridge.
Nice. All right, man. Thanks for talking.
All right.
All right, I just hung up on Patrick. But yeah, it routed to volunteers. And real quick, I'm going to share my screen and show how the volunteer configuration works. All right, this is a login screen for Yap. I can log into this thing. I can go to volunteers at the top. The Southern Piedmont area is the area that I have this set up for. And you can see
He just walked in the house, so she on the way.
All right, so the Southern Piedmont area is the area that I have volunteers set up for. And you can see that I have 5 volunteers set up. I've got Jesse, I've got Patrick, who answered the phone. I've got my other phone, and I got a couple friends, Dee Dee and Sam, from other parts of the country on here. And I can pop one of these open and see that there's a schedule. So I've got Jesse on 24/7 here. She's on every day of the week, all times of the day. You can also do fancy things with the schedule, like say, well, Jesse gets off work at 5 o'clock and she's really not going to take calls off work, right? So you can say Jesse only takes calls after 5 o'clock, that sort of thing. You can also go to a schedule screen and you can see who's on schedule. And you can see I've got all 5 of these folks here on schedule 24/7. So yeah, Yap can both reads meeting list information and it replaces existing systems for doing volunteer routing. And the Southeast Zonal Forum provides a Yap server. So it's kind of like the BMLT, where if you want to contribute to the Yap project, if you want to be a programmer, like, yeah, you got to be kind of technical. But if all you want to do is use Yap, you really don't need to be technical at all. The task force at the zone runs a server and you can hop on it. Then your job is just logging in and configuring the volunteers like I just showed you. And Kelly, you want to talk a little bit about Alabama and Northwest Florida and your experience using the zonal Yap server?
Sure. So this is a case study of how BMLT Yap had a direct impact on a specific area. And this kind of relates to the role of zones, what the purpose of a zone is, how can a zone help? You know, those are always questions that are rolling around in our fellowship that, you know, is it, you know, what good can they do or how can they help? And how does it actually ever come down to a group or to an area helping them? So at a given point in time in the past, I won't go back how far, the area that I live in, North Alabama, had a phone line. And it had a phone line, 1866 number for allegedly 20 years. And we had a public information chair, a public information subcommittee that was a subcommittee of one person. That may be unique to Alabama or North Alabama area, but it was a subcommittee of one person and it was the chair, and he died. He passed away. And when he died and passed away, it was a couple of months later that somebody went, what's going on with the phone line? And nobody had access. Nobody knew what was going on. And so they were finally able to get a hold of the phone line company and come to find out that they had sold their business to someone else. And because John was no longer alive and receiving emails or responding to emails, they sold our 866 number to a credit card fraud company. And so without our knowledge, for about a month and a half, people who were calling the 866 number for the North Alabama area of Narcotics Anonymous was being greeted with a credit card scam company. So at the same time, it was a coincidence that we were asking, I think at the same time we were merging BMLT, because Alabama had I set up a root server 8 years ago, I think, 7 years ago, a long time ago, and manually entered all 450 meetings in before I knew how Jonathan could do it with a script. I was doing it by hand because I couldn't get any of the areas to do it for themselves. And so we put all this information in BMLT, but I had to be the one to continue to update the root server. Patches would come out, updates would come out. And then, so you multiply that level of effort by 7 regions and maybe areas within regions, it becomes a very heavy overhead. So we had made the proposal at the zone, I can't remember when, but we made the proposal to create one root server at the Southeast Zonal Forum. And so Jonathan was a part of that project, and they created a root server, and then they began the process of migrating regional root servers into the single root server. And I'm going somewhere with this technical jargon. I apologize, but this is actually going somewhere. So all regions except for one, but now one has moved. It was all regions. We had one root server. I no longer had to manage it. I still had access to the region and the subsequent areas that were in my region in BMLT. And it would just so happened at the same time we were at Carolina, the Southeast Zonal Forum in Carolina, when I got the call that we had lost our number, and I was getting ready to make a proposal to set up a Yap server next to the root server for the zone. So a root server at the zone, can we set up a Yap server because my area just lost its helpline. We lost our number. We are without a phone line service. And Jonathan said yes. The zone said yes. There was no cost impact, and it didn't impact policy, and it didn't impact cost. So it was in motion that didn't have to go back to regions and back to areas and groups, right? They made the decision right there on the spot to create a Yap server next to our root server. I went out and got a Twilio account, and Jonathan may go a little bit into that or not, I'm not sure, but went and got a Twilio account that had a phone number. And as soon as we connected the Twilio number to Yap, we were able to log in with the credentials of our area for BMLT and immediately began to set up volunteers to answer the phone. So we went from having an area that no longer had a phone line and paying, I don't know, so some of the costs varies out there, but we were paying anywhere from $160 to $200 a month for the phone line service that we had lost. And so we went immediately to Yap, we plugged in volunteers, and we're good to go. The region then made a motion and accepted financial responsibility for the regional Twilio account. So what that means is that the region will assume cost. So the area has a free phone line service with accurate information and high probability of reaching an addict when you call to reach an addict to get an addict. And how that differs from the previous existing service is we were going through a third party, and it was always a question of how accurate is the meeting information of the third party companies that are routing our calls. Who is on the line? Who is on the schedule to answer phones, and how are they sharing meeting? Are they, are they looking at a piece of paper at home that has our meeting information? How old is that piece of paper that they have at home? We don't know. So what Yap does through BMLT is it provides the most accurate information of where meetings are and when they meet, and the highest probability that when someone goes to that meeting, there will be a meeting. This is pre-COVID, by the way, preface that. And also, if you want to talk to an addict, you can talk to an addict. Now, Jonathan, correct me if I'm wrong, but our area, it has a 256 area code. So it's a 256 area code. I believe even if we call our local hotline number, and I happen to be in Raleigh, Carolina, I can still, using my hotline number in Alabama, I can still say I want to talk to an addict in Raleigh, and I believe it will still route me to an addict in Raleigh.
Yeah, I believe that's correct, because it's all in one big zonal server, so it'll serve the whole Southeast.
Yep. So that's another advantage. Now, I'll end with this. When North Alabama asked for this service to be provided by the zone, and the zone provided this service, what it did by meeting that request for that area, it immediately made available to every area in our zone, in every region, a phone line service was immediately available if they chose to have it. So by responding to one request, it had immediate impact and effect that anybody, any area that had, yes.
Oh, I haven't heard anything from them.
Oh, okay. It immediately had any area that had a BMLT account to manage their meeting list immediately also had a Yap service available through the same account. All they had to do was go pick up a Twilio number and set up some volunteers, and they were good to go. So back to you, Jonathan.
Thanks, Kelly. And I also asked Shane C. from Kentucky. He's got some experience switching over to Yap. I know it's not in the Southeast zone, but I've asked him to speak for a couple of minutes about his experience with Yap. Shane, I'm going to unmute you.
Hey guys, I'm Shannon, addict, and I don't have a whole lot more to say other than kind of what Kelly described. You know, we were in a similar situation in Kentucky that we have two regions. Neither of them actually had a working phone line, and I happened to go to the regional meeting one day and was like, where are the regional phone lines? And they were like, well, nobody was calling them, so we stopped using them. And that was for my region, Bluegrass Appalachian. And then I tried to call Kentuckiana to see if they had one, and it turned out nobody had one. And so I volunteered as a project to get us a statewide number, and I was elected for that project at my region. And just like Jonathan described, you know, we used the best technology we had available at the time. This is like 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, which was Freedom Voice. And just like Jonathan described, it never worked exactly how we needed it to, and it was a major pain in the ass to try to get it to work the way we needed to. You know, we undertook the project of moving over to Yap a couple of years after we kind of got that going. We had to build BMLT for both sides of the state, both regions, and that was the first part of the project. We've had a bunch of different kind of phases, and just learning how to build communication, you know, with two different regions and in the same state, you know, that are two different regions for a couple of different reasons, and kind of overcoming that for the common good. And we have finally got all the way over to Yap here recently, and it has been helpful. And the number one reason I'll say it's helpful is I don't have to do the phone line anymore. You know, somebody else with almost no phone line experience as far as the maintenance and setup took it over almost the same day. You know, and I mean, it's my fiance, you know, but now she's doing it and I'm not. You know, the other system was so complicated. And I think Matt has some kind of similar experience with all of the different phone lines in Florida, is that you know, if I got hit by a bus, it would just be insane. and that's what Kelly described. And so we have kind of backed out of some of those possibilities, based on the way that Yap's working now. The biggest difficulty we've had is that because we autonomy was a big issue with the different areas, and kind of fear of the BMLT as the meeting schedule, who's going to maintain the meeting information, what if they don't like our meeting, are they going to take it off, all these different kind of things that are everyday things that we deal with all across NA. To alleviate those fears, we got everybody their own local number too, even though they don't have to have it. We got them their own. Twilio is, I guess, the common paid service that sends the SMS messages. We know them as text messages, but the SMS messages, and the pay as you go service for your voice minutes while you're talking. We got a bunch of people, the areas their own. We have the statewide number, but we got them their own little thing where they pay their own bill for that too, which is like $5 a month or something, $6 a month per area. And so at least that's not optimal, but it's still a lot less than they would have been paying at $25 a month or even $40 a month for a service like Grasshopper or Freedom Voice. And you all were talking about it in the CBDN discussion earlier. Change is very difficult, and so we knew that if we couldn't get everyone on the same single account because their concerns about their safety, the safety of the meetings they had and all that, even if it was not legitimate concern, we still needed to allow them the space to operate like that for a while until they built the trust. And so that's what we're doing right now. The most difficult thing that we've had, because we created numbers, forwarded numbers. Some of them had forwarded numbers from a long time ago. So that's the hardest part, is we transferred a number from one service to Freedom Voice, and now we're trying to transfer it completely from Freedom Voice to Twilio. And because the phone line was created, like Kelly said, ours really was created in like 83 or something. There is no name on the account. And Windstream has it. The address on the account is the Windstream building. It's not even, so when you call and you're supposed to give this information to change things in the account, they ask for your name, your address. None of that stuff exists for us. And so I've even, made letters in names of people that don't exist to try to, it's been crazy, but that's got nothing to do with Yap or the BMLT, right? Like that's an existing problem we had to begin with. So that's the thing that I would get across the most, is that even if you're in a situation where you have several different communities, and they cherish the autonomy and the safety that comes with that, and paying their own bill, even though they don't have to. If you use Yap and Twilio, it's minute compared to what it would have been, and well, that's a monthly bill for everyone in the entire state less than $60. I mean, that's, you pay $100 a month. We would pay $100 a month for a basic answering service that sent people to AA meetings too, because the turnover of the people that coming in and getting paid, and the training, and like Jonathan was saying, having to drive out there and hand them a paper schedule, and then that just all goes away. And so I don't want to keep talking about a whole bunch more stuff, but we're available to help too, kind of troubleshoot or talk about some of those kind of nagging things that come up when you're transferring from one place to another, and that kind of stuff. So we're happy to help with that too. Jonathan, I don't know if there's anything else you want, but.
No, thanks, man. Thanks for sharing. Cool. So we're almost to a Q&A section. I think I've got one or two more slides. So let's just say you're in a member service body and you want to take advantage of the zonal Yap server. How do you do that? And the first step is going to be to reach out to the task force. and we'll talk about what you need, and we'll come up with a plan. And what I mean by come up with a plan is, yeah, you may not want to transfer your entire phone line over to Yap yet. Maybe you just want the meeting search functionality. And there's ways to do that. There are ways to take your existing phone line with another provider and add in an option just to search for meetings and forward that to Yap, so that your volunteers are no longer fielding requests just for finding a meeting. You can do an automated system for that, but then continue to use your existing system for volunteer stuff. It could be that you're interested in getting in moving the whole thing over, but you want to do it in a phased approach. So we'll come up with a plan to do the phased approach. Maybe at first we just do meeting information, then we get a test phone line set up to get everyone comfortable with the system, and then we move it all over. You know, we'll help you. So if you have a phone number with an existing provider, more often than not, you can get that provider to release your phone number and transfer it over to a Twilio account. So real quick, Twilio is, it's who you lease a phone number from, and it's what Yap integrates with. I think of it as like paying my Verizon bill for my phone line. They charge you per minute and per text message. And I've always seen it like, so the zonal Yap server is free. It doesn't cost anything to the member regions, but you do end up paying for your talk time on the phone line and for text messages that it sends out for meeting searches. And that's done through Twilio. So you sign up for a Twilio account, and then you talk to us, and we'll wire it all up for you. We'll handle all the technical parts. All you end up doing is logging in and setting up your volunteers. Next slide. So if you want to get in touch with someone on the BMLT task force, these are a few members who were willing to put their email addresses on a presentation. So, you know, you can reach out to any of us directly. You can always reach out to Jeff, the facilitator, and it puts you in touch with us. There are other members on the task force. They're just not on this slide. We'll all help you out. We'll all help you get set up, answer questions, whatever you need.